President there, Jovenel Moise, assassinated in his home. We're now learning it happened around 1 o'clock this morning. The group responsible for shooting and killing Moise and injuring his wife, not yet identified. The First Lady is in a hospital recovering from her gunshot wounds. The killing coming after economic, political, and social turmoil in the Caribbean country. And joining us now is Dr. Jeremy Levitt. He is a professor of international law at FAMU. And Dr. Levitt, I'll ask you this question because Haiti has always been described to me as the most curious nation in the Caribbean. The mere fact that it is in the Caribbean, no hotels, no massive resorts, no sandals commercials, is an indication that the United States has had its foot on Haiti for centuries and continues to do so, some believe.
Well, obviously there's a history of exploitation and repression. Haiti, having freed itself from French colonial rule through a violent rebellion in the late 18th century, became independent in 1804, and has really been paying a price for being the first black country to be independent in the world that shed the yokes of colonialism and slavery. So I agree with you, and there are hotels, but Haiti has suffered, and certainly with Hurricane Matthew, is still in a stage of massive recovery and now more political turmoil.
Does it bother educated people like you that Americans don't know enough about the history of Haiti? For instance, you're right. Without Haiti, there wouldn't have been slave rebellions in Jamaica. Without Haiti, there probably would not have been the American Colonization Society, and there wouldn't have been Liberia. So we owe a lot to Haiti, and Haiti knows it, but sometimes Americans don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think Haiti set the stage in many ways for rebellions. Remember, though, we had the Stono Rebellion of 1739 in this country, and I think that influenced Haitians, quite frankly. So there's been a synergistic kind of cross-pollination of rebellion. The problem is that we're talking about a country 70 miles off the coast of Miami that has suffered. And I don't think that we've done our lot. We have a huge Haitian population here in the state of Florida that are actively engaged. But the politics in Haiti have just been really debilitating to the people of Haiti, and it's actually gotten worse in the last 10 or 15 years.
How is it that you managed to unravel this assassination of Jovenel Moise? Because you're right, the politics of Haiti have always been thorny. We go back to Papa Doc, we go back to Baby Doc.
Yeah, I mean, in this current situation, Moise essentially was elected in 2017. There was significant internal turmoil in Haiti to the effect that he should have been out of office in February. He was seeking to amend the constitution of the country. And so we have this situation where there's a contested political apparatus. He just replaced his prime minister yesterday. So this is a third prime minister in 3 months. And somebody had enough of the transition, somebody that had interest in the Haitian state, and he was assassinated. And who did that, we don't know. We know that they were Spanish-speaking, perhaps English-speaking. So this is a crisis of significant proportion for Haiti, and it's going to take Haiti even more time to recover politically and obviously from an economic development standpoint.
One of the things that is always fascinating to me is that Americans believe that sometimes governments collapse in places like Haiti or Liberia or South and Central America because the governments were just dysfunctional. When we find out later in history that they were dysfunctional because the United States did something, there was a coup d'etat that was launched and fomented by the United States. How does the United States respond to this latest crisis, and will Haitians actually believe anything that comes out of the Biden administration because our past is so checkered?
Yeah, I think, this is an era of conspiracy theory. The U.S. has had a hand in various coups in Africa and certainly in Latin America. You mentioned the American Colonization Society. Liberia was set up by the Southern Association of Slavocrats, the American Colonization Society, to repatriate free blacks and those who were manumitted on the condition that they leave the country. And then America fiddled in the affairs of Liberia until it couldn't really manage itself. In the case of Haiti, we've had a heavy hand over the years, and I think it hasn't been in the interest of America or the European mindset for Haiti to be a successful black nation because of its origins. So I think that is always an issue. I'm not so sure that the Biden administration would be involved with an assassination. This was not a coup d'etat, but it really is a de facto coup d'etat, given the state of unsettled politics that stand in Haiti right now.
One question to you as an educator as we move forward with things like the critical race theory, the 1619 Project. As we teach American history, should it be taught that, for instance, one big reason behind the Louisiana Purchase had to do with Haiti and the fact that Toussaint Louverture was such a force that France lost once, and I believe France lost twice?
Yeah, not only did France lose, but France then came in. Napoleon. Not only did Toussaint Louverture win, he defeated Napoleon's army. He defeated Napoleon, and then France eventually forced Haiti to pay reparations to France. So there's an example of reparations. By the way, if we're looking for one, it's Haiti's paying reparations to France. But I think on the question of critical race theory, it's a straw man argument. American history is critical race theory. You can't study the civil rights tradition, the human rights tradition of this country without understanding what critical race theory is. It really is an examination of white supremacy in the way that institutionalized racism has affected people of color and African Americans specifically. So the mere discussion and study of our history is an exercise of critical race theory, particularly when we begin to look at norms and doctrines and law and jurisprudence. So it's a straw man argument. It really makes no sense, and it's another thing for the far right to target to deny dealing with the true issue, which is white supremacy and white privilege in the country. And we'll have the same dynamic when we talk about Haiti. The lack of foreign engagement in Haiti and assisting Haiti stems directly from that same process of institutionalized racism. When black people stand for themselves or their nations or individuals, they're met with conflict. And Haiti is a perfect example of a state that is still going through that turmoil.
Dr. Jeremy Levitt with FAMU Law. Dr. Levitt, thanks for being with us.